Hey, thank y'all for your prayers. It seems that justice has prevailed. Another tip for surviving and thriving in a first world police state is adopt the rule truth or silence. So I was held for just about 30 hours, I reckon, on a warrant that was recalled. As I spoke of yesterday, this system that we have, the beast, an interweb of law enforcement, municipal courts, and county courts that now go state by state and even nationwide, is causing lots of problems for lots of people because it's tracking things traditionally that wouldn't be tracked. It's imputing intent in some ways. And it's also, unfortunately, it's not universal, which is going to come to pass. The beast system will be more subsidized, if you will, like subsidiarity. It's not going to have the NCIC. You get so many sites out there. County has its own sites, and the state have their own sites. County sheriffs have their own systems. But the point is, there are glitches that occur because of that. And here I'm signing out of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office because a warrant today was recalled that was listed on the system from September of 2021. So a 22-month-old warrant for, again, disorderly conduct that I was never told anything about. So they could have still held me here if the warrant wasn't recalled, which it was, I think, probably recalled as much as anything because they kept sending in grievances, and I had people calling Henry County to make sure that they were aware that it was an absolute mistake. So when you encounter law enforcement, because if you are an American, you are going to, because we are in a first world police state de facto, we've got 640,000 law enforcement officers in the country. That's a large number. Be sure you adopt the philosophy, truth or silence. Never lie, because it seems as if sometimes in the spirit or the flesh of things, you say something quickly to try to make a situation look one way versus another. That's not how the law works. Truth always eventually prevails, even if you have mitigating circumstances. We have to go through some pain for the truth to come out. So I just spent from yesterday morning at 11 o'clock, 75 northbound in Monroe County, getting pulled over for literally holding my phone up to my ear and listening to EWTN. So now we've gone so far that they're not chasing crime and they're not waiting to pull somebody over after they're speeding, but going under the speed limit. This is the devolution of law into our civil rights. They can see if you don't have your seatbelt on, by law, they can do this. That's why the legislature is a problem. Law enforcement's been third tier, but legislature, lawyers, and law enforcement have us in this type of situation. Legislature has made it a law in Georgia that you can't hold your phone. And that it's not a secondary citation where you can be pulled over based on something else and maybe issued a citation, which it shouldn't be. And it's a public order issue. That should not even be a question of the freedom and rights to hold your damn phone. I mean, you kidding me? So that got me pulled over, returning from a visit with my children, and they impounded my car because he had a warrant in the beast in the system from 22 months ago. Well, the warrant was never mailed to me. It said disorderly conduct -COVID. And then I sent 3 grievances since I was here. Monroe County doesn't want to inherit a legal problem. My corpus, my body, and my training, I am a legal problem if someone's not in compliance with the Constitution. So I started writing and saying, you don't have the right, which is true, to investigative hold, and you don't have the right to a lackadaisical or lack of duty and violation of equal protection hold if I'm not going to be transported over to Henry County where a bonds person can then immediately get me out. Because they were telling me I could be sitting here for 3 days just waiting on Lee County. So truth or silence, adopt that as a rule, and don't accept someone telling you something that's not accurate or true as truth and sit on your haunches just because they're an officer or a deputy or a bonds person. Because one of the officers here told me that they can't tell me when I'm going to be transported because it would be a safety issue. Well, that's just bull. That's absolute bull. Another officer told me that, literally said to me right in there, and I'll just say what it is. I mean, I'm not going to discriminate or be in any manner less objective than I humanly possibly can be, but this overweight white lady said, well, you're in jail. You lose your rights. And I looked at her and said, this is America. Are you kidding me? And she goes, well, some of them. I mean, that's the lack of training. I'm sure she's the nicest, sweetest lady that you could ever sit down in the living room with or at her kitchen table. But that's an ignorant dog of the government to tell somebody unlawfully detained, God forbid if they even are lawfully detained, you lose your rights when you go to jail. So with this extent of human ignorance in the system of the beast, we are seeing in America mass incarceration and glitches like never before. 2.2 million detainees, 1.7 million per capita, according to UN rates, would not be there if they were in another first world country. So that means 1.7 million detainees that are slaves by law because they're unlawfully held. And it's because, again, legislature, lawyers, and law enforcement. The legislature has created so many rules over and above the Constitution, they think that they're legislating good, but what they've done is created a de facto police and surveillance state that encroaches just systematically by law upon our civil constitutional rights. I have a right to liberty to travel without unlawful search or seizure, and it's an unlawful search and seizure to even pull me over for holding my damn phone. I don't give a rip what any judge says, any law professor. They're a moron if they think that that's what the Constitution intended. So the warrant was recalled by Henry County. Truth or silence. That's your lesson for now. Don't get fearful. Don't worry. Use the grievance systems within the jails if you go to jail, which I pray you don't, but all the greats did. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Jesus went to jail and had 3 trials. I had one big old fat white guy say, I'd never been to jail as a Sunday school teacher, like he's bragging. I thought to myself, yeah, because you've done nothing but backbite and gossip about every leader you sat under and never been an actual leader yourself. So the point is, if you have some issue and you go to jail, be certain to use their grievance system and the kiosks. First time I've ever seen this at a detention center, they often have the blocks of the number of messages you can send. Sometimes it's one a day. This kiosk system had a block where they would give you a cool down time, and they punted me like 40 minutes where I couldn't access the kiosk for 40 minutes. Then another time they punted me for an hour and 20 minutes because I've been here since 11 o'clock yesterday morning on a fake warrant that they were going to hold me on for 3 days until I got transferred to Henry County to figure out what they're going to do there. So from yesterday at 11 till today at about an hour ago, I've been messaging every grievance every time period I can and laying out the law. Now, investigations are different than once a warrant's been issued, but the timings are similar in the sense that you can't be holding for an investigation forever. And so they've laid out some good faith timelines of like 2 hours, 3 hours, or 24, depending on set state law. Well, this is a wrinkle within the law in the sense that an out-of-county warrant, so the deputy said he gave them 10 minutes to ping back if they wanted me when he said there was a warrant. Well, again, the beast, the system that we're trusting more than people, we've become so in our thinking weak-minded, we actually believe that computers are smarter than us. God made this world for us. No computer is going to be smarter than any human being when it comes to living life to its fullest. Now, if you're trying to be a computer, I'm sure it can collect more data than you, but that's not necessarily living. That doesn't make that machine intelligent. So the point being, this beast that we have had this deputy pick me up, bring me in, and the policy would normally be immediately a bonds person show up and you get released, or you're held until the bond's set if it's a kind of case that's egregious and could be a reason for public safety consideration. Well, here, this is an out-of-county warrant. I was just riding through again holding my cell phone. So writing grievances and laying out, hey, 24-hour hold is reasonable, but if the other county does not come get me in 24 hours on a 22-month-old misdemeanor warrant for disorderly conduct. Now, I mean, disorderly, it's flailing my arms disorderly, because I don't know what that was even based on. I just drove through Henry County, and that's all I ever do when I go see my kids. So thank God I sat down with a Christian. He's actually Calvinist. I'm just tradition. I mean, I'm Christian. I just believe if you have been baptized and you confess Jesus, you're justified. And we prayed, and I started kind of trying to just talk through his situation with him. And within about 5 or 10 minutes talking with him, the deputy came in and said that the warrant had been recalled, get my stuff, and they were letting me go. See, I really believe as much as anything, Monroe County got concerned because I wrote in all my grievances, I'm going to file a 1983 action. I'll sit up in here an hour or two and let you make mistakes if there's, process, or even a day. But I had determined in my mind if I'm there more than 24 hours, I'm going to sue Monroe County one way or the other. Now, a lot of these suits are not successful. Hey, bud, a lot of them end up getting kicked out. But the fact that you file it, you create a record, and it's like the difference in back surgery versus a neck surgery. About 50% of back surgeries, the people still have problems after the surgery. A good 90+% of neck surgery is successful. Well, with areas of law, it just depends on, domestic case, nobody's a winner. Criminal case, trials have got a certain percentage, 9% are typically overturned on appeal, but only 9%. When it comes to civil rights cases, because of immunity, out of 100, depending on the lawyer, if they're batting 3 out of 100, 50 out of 100, 97 out of 100, it all still may be good because it just depends on the type of case it is and intent. And so I've had a lot of them thrown out, not by jury, never lost one in front of a jury. But the problem is the judges don't want to hear it. The judges don't want to hear how bad the government really is, and they end up throwing them out. So, anywho, hope that's good wisdom for you.